All right, how many of you want your dog to come and call? I have one. Right. If you notice, there's nothing in my hand. Come. Sit. Good. Great. But what I hear from parents all the time is that they do not want a dog to expect to have a treat every time they come. Do you go to work and expect to sometimes just not get paid? Because when you're asking a dog to do something that's not even demanded in their own dog pack, doing it for us has to have some kind of connection with a high value. Doesn't mean you have to treat every time. And the most important part about dog training is that you do not show the treat. You do not put it here. You do not put it here. If I'm in a show ring, that might be different. Those are tactics that we use in show rings. But that is not a typical dog, right? That gets to go live with a family, and we need them to listen and come when called like we do our kids. So when we're training come when call, the first thing that I will tell you that's so important is, of course, name response, because we were taught our name at a very young age, paired with something probably very positive. Very rare would our name be yelled as a little teeny toddler and somebody would correct us. Now, eventually there was interruptions of behavior with replaced what they want behavior when you're looking at a 2-year-old. So we're looking at the same thing here with Pearly. And I'm just going to say her name and give a treat for that. Now, tools are so important when you're training a dog. If you don't have the right tools, you can't train the dog right. And what happens is when they come home, if you happen to get a dog at 8 weeks old, 6 weeks old, which is really too young to be leaving a pack of their family, it should be 10, and it used to be 10 and 12, because their development stages were so important with their pack. So we have to teach a lot of things to dogs at a young age when we get them immediately, and what happens is those things don't get taught, and then eventually the dog learns the behaviors we don't want because they're just confused. So come, remember, is a command that is in a human need, not a dog need. If they were living in a pack, there would be elders, and those elders every day have the same rules. There's no rules that change. They have boundaries they set for the pack. They have rules and job positions they set for the pack. And those rules you'll see implemented in a very calm, consistent, clear manner to a puppy. So the whole pack begins to train this puppy. Now, if you've gotten a dog that's a rescue, these rules still apply, believe it or not. But you're dealing with a dog that had to deal with probably chaos, confusion, not understanding. Remember, their first language is not verbal, and neither were we. We are a body language speaker. You can see me using my hands all the time. So are dogs, but they have a very constant, clear, and we do too. We have frowns that mean we're sad. We have smiles that mean we're happy. We have glares that mean stop doing what you're doing. So we were conditioned with that probably at a very young age, and hopefully in a very clear manner. And if not, we were pretty frustrated kids. So behaviors came out of those frustrations. That's why if you have a puppy or a rescue, you have to make sure that the pack, if it's just you and your dog, you're a pack. If it's you and 5 other people and 5 other dogs, you're a big pack. So you have to have some really cool, clear rules, and the number one rule is to first teach the dog the same word paired to a behavior from all of you. So I can go into hundreds of homes, which I have, and the average parent and family members all have different words. And when I bring it to their attention that, you know, when you're using a word paired to a behavior that you want, that takes time. They have to learn what that means. Just like we had to learn what a red light meant as we were driving a car, right? We had to be taught what green light meant when we could go. So it took us time, and so does it your dog. So when you're looking at a pack, you have to first make a list. You have to know that they probably did not get a great opportunity if they were rescued with name, what that meant. And they may have went through 5, 6 different names, who knows? And they may have had their name given to them with corrections. So that would be for a rescue. For a puppy, you have to name the name and teach them what we want out of the name, because they don't get in a pack and say, you know, you're Joe and you're Bubbles. They get together and they understand where their positions are in the pack, and that's by body language and energy. And body language, a dog has, and probably more at this point if studied, 450 body movements. That in Japan means the same thing in Germany. So it doesn't matter if they came to the US, it all is the same and they understand it. Now the problem is, when they learn these things, like our children would, or we did, it would be in a pack. And that's why growing up with their puppy mates and their mom and that interaction is so important. And if most of the time in our country, it's taken away from them for this need to sell a puppy. So if you got one at 6 weeks, your work is cut out even more. If you got one at 8 weeks, you really got to still get to the timeline of their age. If you get one older that never had any of those opportunities, you can go backward and start to teach them, but you've got to learn yourself some stuff. So when I talk about name, Harley, you want them to realize, come over to me, you know, that's name response. Good, that's a marker word. Good, Harley. Break. That means, okay, go back to doing what she was doing, which is shopping. But she's distracted in here. Now, this isn't the room I would train off leash, because if you notice, the leash isn't in my hand. That's advanced. That's weeks into training, and she's being trained by a professional trainer. So that means that I never give her the opportunity to make another choice. Think about that one. I teach her in the beginning what her name response is, and I teach it on leash. So when I first start out, I give her the opportunity to understand that when I say your name, I want you to look at me. I want you to watch me. I want you to come over to me. And I mark it with a word that's always consistent, not something we say in our daily language like, oh yeah, thanks, great job, good. You've got to have one word. If it's a yes, if it's a good, if it's you know, with a whistle. But the point is, you've got to remember, and the clicker's a big one that's out there right now. Clickers are markers. They're not corrective tools. They're click, click. The whistle is a marker. We dolphin train with whistles, because then they come in from the water and get their reward. But we mark with the whistle the behavior out there they did. That was great. So you've got to think of that on name response. You start out plus. You don't have the treat here, but you do have it with you, and of course they know it. That's okay. You say their name. Perfect. Good. You mark that, and what am I getting? I am getting Hardy. Eye-to-eye contact. Good. And we're standing by bones and belief sticks. Now, I would not do this session like this first, and the reason is because I need her to understand what I want, and I don't need to put distractions in it. That's like me and you having somebody hand us $1 million if we get the behavior right, but we're just learning it. Oh my gosh, that $1 million would be our main focus, right? It'd be hard to learn. So you gotta think of your dog and what they were bred for. Like a bird dog is bred to what? A bird dog, right? Hunt. So that is a distraction the minute I get out in the real world. It's not always dogs, right? It's squirrels, it's birds, it's food, it's bones. Quiet. I interrupted that. I had the leash, which is really good, because then I go, quiet, and remember, it's just an interruption. Good, quiet. I catch that behavior. Now, that's not what we're training right now, but I gotta still keep training her. She's here for a board and train. So, name response. Gotta have that, or you have nothing. If I want to teach a dog 3 names, that's fine. Just make sure they understand that means look at me when you hear that, give me an eye-to-eye contact, mark it with a word, because it's your job as the trainer to teach what that name response is expected. And then moving away, they know in their language to pay attention, to follow you. If I move into them, that's more predatory. You don't really want to do that. That's more of a correction. So that's why you want to have a tagline in the beginning. Even if I have a puppy in the home, I can grab that at any given moment, say their name, Now this isn't the exercise, right? We're going for come. But remember what I'm saying. Your name is just as important as me getting your attention, so as it is for my dog. Then I bump up the distractions. I do this in here, I do this in the play dog area, I do this at the park, but I just first make sure that I'm getting the behavior that I want and I'm marking it, and they really start understanding without me asking anything. Good. And yeah, I have the treat in my hand, but you know, it's a young puppy, or it's a new dog with a new name, or it's a 4-year-old dog with a new name that has gone through rescues. You have to give them the chance to understand what you want when you say that name. Number 2, you gotta pick the right equipment. So we start out not with a leash this long. This is a long line, 10 foot, but you need one. If you really want, now if I have a little teeny chihuahua, I'm not gonna get this, but I don't recommend the retractables, okay? That's not a training leash. That is a retractable is used after that. A harness is not used in the beginning, because I want you to think about retractables we can't really train with. There's this bunch of stuff in our hand. And honestly, I've watched a Jack Russell break a retractable and run across the highway. And that's the end of that story. I don't need to continue. But if it wasn't a retractable, the leash would have kept that dog safe. So retractables teach sometimes not to pay attention and to pull. So that's not good. Scratch that. Harnesses, they were invented for a pull for a sled dog. So because, just like a harness on a horse, it teaches our brain the minute something is put on and strapped on, we move towards it and it'll push it. And it causes them to be out in front of us, not paying attention to the leader, because when you're walking with your dog, remember, you are the leader. If you aren't and they're out in front of you, then anything else you want to train has zero response to the level you want it. You have to have a dog learn to pay attention to the leader, and wherever the leader goes, they follow, and it's a good thing. And then you start teaching the behaviors you want. Now, come is one that we all want, and I will always get the phone call that they were great at 4 weeks, I hope not, great at 8 weeks old, great at 10 weeks old. Well, right there, they're going through the toddler and the teenager, and then what comes? Because it happens with humans. They're no longer clinging to the legs. They're like, the world is a pretty interesting place. So they're not coming. And the parents didn't train it the right way in the beginning because they thought they had a great come. They didn't have any kind of come. They had a puppy that was hanging out with the pack until they got a little bit of their independence. And remember, come is not in the dog language. Following the pack is. That's why leadership is so important. So leash walking is as important as name response, as important as come. So the third thing is, well, let me go back to the second thing. So that was the 10 foot. You need a 6 foot. And you do not want your treat pouches and all this stuff hanging from here. As a dog trainer, when you're training your dog, you do not want things that get in your hands' way. Your hands are a big part of training. Your body and your energy is right behind it. So no different than if I gave you an example that I'm leading a child and we're walking around and the child gets scared. We usually don't stop and let them dictate where we're gonna head, right? We become the elder, we become the parent, we stay calm, we probably take a deep breath, I hope, and we say, no, let's go this way, and we're very confident. So our body energy is going the direction, and the child begins to trust you and lead, because the leader's leading. Same with a classroom, anywhere that you've had an instructor who makes you feel safe, calm, and confident. So when you're training a dog, you're training them a word paired to a behavior, but most importantly, you're becoming the pack leader, and your rest of your family members are up there with the elders. So everyone has to use the same word. So when I talk about come, I'll ask families, so what is your command? Oh, come on, come, get over here. Probably about 5 other ones. And then I'll say, what's your command for leash walking? Come on. come here, can you go? So think about if we were in a place learning a new language and somebody said and showed us, like we do with kids, we put them over on a chair and we say sit, and we pair that behavior with the word sit, and we mark it and say good sit, and we give them something to do as a kid. Now if you're in another country and someone's teaching you their form, their word for sit, how would it feel if they started giving you 3 other words beyond that? From everybody assuming you should know. You just should know. And then getting in trouble because you don't know. And no one's done it enough times to make you understand what that word and behavior are. And it should always end with a positive, right? So if I say come, I'm teaching them come. And I need to know in here, what's come? I want them to come directly in front of me. I want them to sit in front of me. And hopefully you want it to be then paired to a word that says break. Because then they understand without a leash one day that come means come to me, sit, let me grab your collar, and if I say break, you get to get up and go on, go back, do your thing. Other than that, you wait. That's a safety, not just a recall. Then you've got to realize, if I took you on a car, now I'm going off on a weird story. If I put you in a car and you just learned to drive a car, and I didn't stage anything, meaning I didn't give you an environment that simulates what it's like in real life, and I just took you out there, said we're going right to the highway, and then I said turn left, stop, hit the brake, turn right, no, what are you doing, look in your mirror, you would be completely overwhelmed. And then the language didn't even stay the same. Somebody else got in the car and started saying all these other things. We go crazy, right? We'd actually be very upset. So think of your dog, it's the same thing. So if I'm teaching come and I'm going back to all the family use the same word. Name response is very important, and everybody has practiced it that's going to be interacting with your dog. Teach it in a low distraction and simulate it how it would be for what you need from that. Meaning, come is a straight line command. Sit right in front of me. Pair that with a treat, you just paid them $100 to come to you. If I have a bird dog or a hunter, their decision to go chase that bird, but I'm giving them $100 or a higher value. Let's say they don't need money, right? We do, but so we connect to that. But if I was giving them something like turkey, chicken, my recall just became really good. So you have to think of it in those terms too. Does that mean I stand with the food in my hand like this? No. You keep that in a treat pouch. So remember, you have to have something. I have a pocket, so that's my pouch right now tonight. But you want something that's easy to get into. Have your treats small as a little raisin. It could be their meal, but they have to like it. So if you gave me a Reese cup or a Snickers bar, I'd forget the Snickers bar. I'd do whatever I want. Give me a Reese cup and I might do something for you. So you've got to think in those terms of what your valuable treat is. It's not just what you think is valuable. And it can be chicken. It can be very healthy. So we got the leash. We went over the long line, 6 foot. Now we're going to talk about collars. Yeah, there's a prong collar, and that's a different conversation right now, but I want you to realize the prong collar was made after the elder's teeth. So the little brains know, oh, I'm getting corrected right here, and it's an immediate release. And so many people beat other people up for wearing these. If it's any tool is an unsafe tool, if the handler is unknowledgeable and doing it wrong. Secondly, not everybody physically can manually do it themselves. They need backup. But you want a speedy result. You want it positive. You want to end it with a reward. But you also have to communicate in a language they understand. And using the right equipment is so important. You want a trainer, if you need one, to help you out to pick it. This is a martingale. It is a pressure and a release. Everything's pressure and release. So this is a slip line. It's not a choker. I don't recommend chokers. They get They're just not a good tool. Actually, your phone collar is safer than a choker in most human hands. I do not recommend in a puppy or a newbie rescue to start right out with any collar, because you have to set the foundation. Remember this, everybody is an important part in this. Your humans have to use the same words. Everyone has to have an intentional plan for the session. Sounds like I'm preaching, but I am. Recall is one of the hardest behaviors for many to understand how to accomplish. And the dogs can learn it easy peasy. It's the humans that don't want to change. So what I'm talking about is all human behavior tonight. I want you to realize that. Your training equipment's important. If you have a little puppy or a little dog and you're using a collar or a martingale, that's fine. But you just have to have good technique. So I'm going to show you with the 6 foot. Now I have practiced come for over a week and a half. And I taught it first in a low distraction environment. Trying to see what she was doing when I wasn't looking. Remember, she's a puppy. And we always should be watching. And I'm watching her, but I just saw tissue on the ground. So, my bad, right? I should have caught that. So, I want you to realize we're always responsible. It's really never the dog's fault. Alright, so she's having fun with toys. Now, if I have a dog that loves toys, is a retriever, I can combine my reward method. Oh my gosh, that's a blast. You can do it with a toy that gets replaced instead of a treat. So all I'm going to teach you right now is that I want you to realize you're pairing a word, come, or you're pairing a word, here, and you're showing them. Remember that. You're not waiting. They don't know that that word means. And that's a human behavior too. They'll wait. Are you gonna come? They don't realize you gotta teach this. So I want you to think about if you've ever fished or a fishing rod. You reel it in to get that fish to come to you, right? You don't go out and grab it on the hook. So you have to teach a dog what this means. When dogs back up or move away, that's a chase game. Most of the time it's the elder that would participate like that. They really won't be the one chasing. They'll have everyone chasing them, which is fine. So you're doing the same thing, but you're teaching there's multiple behaviors of this. The word come, whatever word you're gonna use, then you're gonna back up, then you're gonna reel in, and it's a straight line like it would be from me to you. Straight, A to B. So I have to make that straight line in my mind so I know I'm teaching them, stay in front of me. You're not going to jump over to them, right? Because that's not a come. And if they were running out there, that certainly wouldn't be something you could accomplish. Somebody wants to get back in their toy box. So if I have a puppy who's being destructive like that, like a kid, you just right over here, ready, good. Get them back into focus. Good. Now, sit is not a part of come. Sit is not a part of come. It's part of a show ring come. And it looks great, and it's also great if you have them in a sit stay. But when do we need come? We need it when they're looking somewhere else, or they're running after something else. So you teach it with that in mind. So they're not in a sit, you just back up, getting ready to reel in, come, keep back up, good, come, I'm marking that all the way to me, I asked for a sit, good, I grabbed that collar in case my leash ever fell off, it's a sequence, good, break, yay, now I'm going to do this again, I'm going to repeat, so remember, do I put my dog in a sit for a come? Why? Because it's not realistic in the real world. If they're outside, if they're running from you, you need come to be the most positive. And you need it where you show it 5 or 10 times a day. You do this inside as much as outside. In your backyard as much as in your front yard. So they learn to do this behavior no matter where they're at. But you do it first in what? Let me ask. High distraction or low distraction when you're first training come? I hope you said low. And let's say you have a dog in board and training. Do you just go right out to high distraction because they were trained by someone else? I hope you said no, because who has to learn technique and follow through and how to do it first? The human. Even if the dog knows it, that doesn't mean they'll do it for someone who doesn't know what they're doing. And that means everyone in your family uses what? The same words, the same techniques. And you never have a dog come to you, grab them, and correct them. That'd be like, did you ever have a family member that when they said your name a certain way, you knew you were in trouble? And you may have even delayed it. Like, oh, forget it, I didn't hear you. So you don't want them to associate come like that. If they're doing something wrong, it's our fault, like the paper over there, and I interrupt that behavior and catch it. If I don't catch it, no different than a child. If I don't catch it, they may know, and again, I'm jumping a little bit here, but 100 parents over and over will tell me, well, they know they're doing wrong. And it's a really hard phone call when you get that and they don't come to you. Because I've done many little, as a behavioralist and a trainer for a long time, I have done things like a parent will say, oh, they know they're peeing, their ears go down and their tail goes down. And I'll say, okay. So I have them leave the room and I pour water on the floor with the dogs with me. And I say, come on back. And they come in and the dogs do the same behavior. Why? It's not their pee. They know that liquid on the floor, you and them, trouble. They don't know how to fix it, and most of the time they really don't know what started it, how to get in trouble. So you got to realize, just like a toddler, we would never take a diaper and smear it in their face. You would catch them, help them learn, don't do that, do this. And it's our job as the parent. So let's go through the rules on come. Do I say come without a leash in my hand? Not if I haven't done how many repetitions? I should be able to have done 20, 30 in different environments. But remember this, if I don't need this leash when I say come, then I'm getting to the next level, sit. If I don't need the leash to get the sit, then I'm getting to the next level for this environment. Break. If I haven't taught break, then I need to teach that first and then combine the sequence. But remember, if I go to a party tonight and we go to a dog party, I would not expect my dog just to come running if I drop the leash and get the same behavior I got in here. It's a new environment, new distraction, just like the back parking lot when we're driving a car or learning to even ride a bicycle, to low distraction from medium distraction to high distraction. And if someone fails or the dog fails, they're not ready. Too many times we say they're stubborn, but remember, it's human being behavior first. 90% of how we train gives us our dogs. If I have a rescue and they look like they run on the word come, then I'm going to change the word, like here, and give a new association. And I'm going to start with them like a puppy, like they know nothing. The slate's clean. And I'm going to make sure I always do this on leash in different environments until I know that I can drop my leash. Harley, come. Good girl, sit. And there's distractions everywhere, and she's still choosing break to come. So now I can bump up her training. So I hope some of this helped. I tried to keep it as short as possible. There's so much more to come than that, or there's so much more if you're having behavioral problems. So if you are, you always search a trainer. You won't find all your answers on YouTube, but what I want you to understand is first and foremost, learn the foundation training is so important. I don't care what age they are. And secondly, the foundation training for the human being, learning how many words people are using that are not the same words, not the same body language, rewarding bad behaviors, and then the other person doesn't want it. Really get your path structured, and who's the leader, and what words will be used, and how are we going to reward them. And please be a good human. If this helped, please share it, and have Have a great night.